Good day to everyone. At this stage, we are not yet 100% sure, but already on match day against Royal AM, a lot of players were showing signs that they are recovering. Yesterday, I met a few who were coming here for the shoot. One or two of them were not looking very good, but one hopes that when we get the doctor's update just before training this afternoon, we will be able to get to understand exactly what we have for the weekend.
Thanks, Ruby. Coach, in terms of looking at the success that the team had this season, why on paper you would say it's more than last season because already you've got 2 trophies, but now here's the third one, the enticing treble. Would you, if you win this one, would you say this season was a great season for the Brazilians?
To everyone, it will look like a very successful season. But the truth of the matter is that us as coaches, as individuals and players, we know very well we could have had 4. But unfortunately, we bombed out again in the quarterfinals of the Champions League. But to a certain extent, we will be proud that we have really improved our benchmarks of last season where we had 1 trophy, and now if we already have 2 already, that says we have done better than last season. Though there's always that dark cloud around the Champions League, which we are all very, very unhappy about.
Back to our last 3 matches against Royal and Sundowns and Chiefs, you've conceded, I think, 5 or 6 goals, somewhere there. I don't think it really represents a crisis, but it must be something that you're closely checking to make sure that the guys are tight at the back in the final.
Yeah, man, it's concerning, more especially the goals we considered against Stellenbosch. That's where I think we are all very unhappy with those 3 goals because they were emanating from situations that we had envisaged and situations that we had profiled the opposition and knew this is how they can hurt us. And when they get 2 goals from that, it becomes very bad, and we were very unhappy with it. The Kaizer Chiefs match, not much I can say about it. And the Royal AM 2 matches, obviously, that is a high-scoring team. But I still believe we could have done better in defending those 2 goals. And I also think we could have scored more goals and killed the game earlier before it comes to that point. But we are not really that much concerned. But as a team that does not like to concede, we're feeling bad, you know.
You mentioned a couple of weeks ago that the central defense is an issue that you're looking to rectify, maybe in the market and stuff. But over the last few weeks, Divine Lunga has really impressed in central defense. Although it's not his original position as a left back, does that change anything for you and the technical team, and how impressed have you been with his performances?
No, to be honest, Divine Lunga has done exceptionally well, which is expected of him. When we brought him here with a mentality to play him as a full-back or a left centre-back. And he has come in handy and done exceptionally well in the matches that he got. But that still does not change the fact that we are still looking for another left-footed centre-back, because that's an area where we lost Ricardo Nascimento. And on the right, we are a little bit safe with Brian, Roche and Grant. So on the left, we only have Musa and half of Divine in that space. So it probably would be even nice to have 2 left-footed centre-backs. But when you are looking for the best quality that you can get, 1 would be enough.
Coach, what sort of game can you expect? I mean, in the past, you've been at Sundowns long enough to know and remember that games between Sundowns and a team coached by Coach Dendens always went all the way most of the time. I remember those double legs, MTN8 matches, and also now Marumo Gallants probably have a different profile to the team that had knocked you out in the last year in the same competition. So what kind of game can we expect on Saturday?
The good thing about games between Sundowns and any team that is coached by Dendens is that they are teams that are both ultra-offensive and teams that would not sit back and absorb any pressure. We will be going all out for each other, which makes it a very interesting game for the spectators. And the profile of that team has improved, like you say, from last season. Last season, we lost a game that, again, we should not have lost, because when a goalkeeper becomes a man of the match, then it summarizes what the match looked like. But unfortunately, when you don't take your chances, you get punished. We've seen just now teams coming out of serious competition solely because they did not take their chances, not because they played bad. And in football, you get punished for that. The good part about Dan's team is that it has got very, very important three players that make that team to function, which is Miguel, whom I believe is really grossly undermined in the league, but he's one of the best central midfielders. Miguel team. It also has Ndlondlo, whom I also regard very highly. Very dynamic, good in counter-pressing, good in the passing game, got a full range of passing, and he also scores goals, and is very important to that team. And they also have Mpilo Ngema, whom I also regard very highly. They call him Zizo because he's a very intelligent player, very nippy, very intelligent to see the openings that he can exploit in between the lines, creates a lot of goals in that team, and is a very important player in general. That makes them to be one of the most dynamic midfielders that you have in South Africa. The three of Miguel, Mpilo, and Ndlondlo, it's something that we must really, really look at very closely. And they also have very offensive fullbacks that can cause us problems if we are not aware. And I must also say the Ivorian Dion has done tremendously well, and more especially in this cup. So that makes them to be a team that we must look at very, very closely, because they've got some players that can hurt us.
You're going into this match as overwhelming favorites. I mean, given your performance, overall performance this season. What are you going to do or tell your players to make sure that their feet remain firmly on the ground and they don't get complacent?
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, these are some of the matches that I don't like, to be honest with you, and I think I once shared this before. Matches where you are expected to win and everybody looks at you as the favorites to win the match are very difficult, because one, you have a responsibility as a coach to intrinsically motivate the players to understand that the game is as important as if you were playing any other big team. And that at times you are never too sure how far it has gone up until the match is played and you can see the performance of the players, because you don't know what happens with the subconscious mind when you are telling someone how important a match is and how difficult it can be to play when you are not intrinsically motivated to say, I want to win this match at all costs, not because there is a bonus after that or anything else, because once it's an extrinsic motivation, it stands a chance of creating a lot of anxiety within you, and once you are too anxious, you are most likely to make very silly mistakes, and I'm not trying to be pessimistic by saying that, but when you are playing with a lot of anxiety is the biggest enemy of precision. You can't be very precise when you are anxious. So for me, that is the only concern that I have, because you want to play a match where a player himself alone, as an individual, he wants to play that match and he believes it's one match that will profile him correctly. It's one match that can open doors for him. And if a player has got that mentality, then he goes into that match with a very good frame of mind, because the unfortunate part, if that frame of mind is not there, subconsciously you are thinking the game is going to be easy. Subconsciously you are thinking, no, it's a walk in the park. It's very difficult to bring yourself back and to a realization that this game is not as easy as I thought. And when you are already in the game, it becomes very difficult. But I want to believe our team, we've created a very good culture. a culture of trying to win every match that we play, be it it's a friendly match, be it it's a weaker opposition, be it it's a training match. We go all out to try and win the match, and even the training sessions also look like that because we always want to win everything that we are trying to do. And I hope that mentality does not create problems for this match, because this match, unfortunately, being the last match of the season, the holiday vibes are already there. People are already thinking about what to do after the season. You are trying to bring them back to say you still have a season to play. But we are very confident. Our players are very professional. They can handle these situations, and they understand how important it is, more especially after bombing out of the Champions League, to try and salvage a little bit of pride and be able to bring this trophy home.
Coach, you mentioned the issue of flu and the fact that, and you just touched on the end of the season. How important is it to actually have strength in depth, considering the fact that the key parts of the season, that being the end and the start of the following season, take place in the coldest months of the year, and which is probably the worst, the time when there's a bigger transmissibility of airborne diseases?
It's this one is a very difficult one to really look at, because as coaches we always want to have a healthy competition where players can see a chance to play at any given stage. And to many people, I know many people think we've got more players than anyone else, and it's not true. It's not true. It's just that we've got many players that can play at any given time. Sometimes you can have 30, but when it comes to player number 15, you say, hey, no, this one must not play. You are not sure. But with us, maybe the case is a little bit different, because we, in total, with 4 goalkeepers, this season we had 35 players. And that was our number. And coming into the game of Royal AM, we could not make the numbers in the bench because of the infections. I think 23 players were infected, if I'm not mistaken. Then we had to scramble and see who recovers faster, who can still maybe give us 30 minutes. Saavedra was not even ready to play the match because he has not yet fully recovered, and he has not really trained with the team, but he had to be there. Motobi was coming from a hamstring. He had not even been given to the conditioning team. He was still with the rehab group, partly with the conditioning team, but we had to throw him in because we did not have the numbers. That's why we brought in Offensive, whom I think started very well, but I think it got shaky as the game progressed. But going back to your question, you will always think when you've got 35 players, that's a good number to take you through the season. But if 35 cannot take you through the season, then going to 40 is, for me, not going to help much, because you also want to keep the level of motivation of all the players at the right levels, seeing the possibilities that they'll get a chance to play. And the good thing that we did this season is that each and every player that we registered did manage to get an opportunity to play. And in as much as we had this situation that we've never had before of having 23 players, maybe 5 officials being infected in one camp, and you ask yourself, if that was a Champions League final, what would have happened? But I still think the numbers that we have can still be trimmed a little bit.
I think I'm going to be a little bit controversial, and I hope that you answer. So, Coach, looking at how, especially when the technical team was bolstered by the arrival of Coach Steve, there were a lot of naysayers after the departure of Coach Pitso that said, this is going to be tricky for you. But fast forward to now, you look at, even some were saying that it was Coach Pitso's team, but you look at the team that you currently have, I think it's 70% you changed. Is it sort of like a vindication of some sort? As a coach, are you satisfied that you proved the doubters wrong? Is that your thinking?
Now, to be honest, I never go to that space, because that space is a negative space. And as a person, I'm a very positive person. And I always give room for people to be pessimistic, because it is in our nature. I don't know whether maybe it's our background, more especially our black nation. We are very pessimistic. We take too long to think something will work right. We always have a lot of we shall see situations, instead of saying maybe we need to support, this might work. And it happens even in our families. it's very easy for black people to be pessimistic. If you're doing well, very quickly we will say, hey, usethweleke lo." Or unenyoka, or what. We never say, wow, this guy is working very hard. God is blessing him. So I'm just saying it's very important in life to stay on the positive side. And I think what has carried me through in my life is because I always try to see the silver lining in everything. I never really focus more on the dark cloud, because once there is a dark cloud and you are focusing more on it, the most likely thing to happen, there's going to be rain. And you don't want the rain. At least you should hope for some sunshine afterwards. So that's how I look at life. And I would not even blame people for having been pessimistic, because it was like, it's a new thing that we now have 3 coaches in the team. Whereas when Coach Pitso was here, it was myself, Coach Pitso, and Coach Barnes initially. Then after that, it was Coach Pitso, myself, and Coach Rulani. At Arrows, I had Coach Mandla Ncikazi and Louis Hayes. At Amazulu, I had Coach Fanny Madida and Coach Fire, Joel Fire. So I've always been in an environment where I know the ratios in training are always important. You can only have 5% influence in the group that you have in front of you. So if my 5% in the 35-man squad is not going to make the team to win, it's always important to gather the other percentages from either even the physio, who speaks positively to the player and say, I know you can do it, and you can do it for the club. And I got a very good induction, and I'm always grateful to my own induction as a coach, because at my younger stage, even before I got qualified, I worked for Maritzburg City. And Maritzburg City was playing in the ABC Motsepe League. And in that team, we had a technical director, Thabo Dladla. We had Reggie Shelembe, head coach, myself, assistant coach, Tami Mahlanze, the second assistant coach, and Mhlanga Madondo was the team manager, but he was also a level 2 coach. So I got used to a culture of very objective and very critical debates when it comes to what we want to achieve, what we want to see, how do we want the team to train, how do we want the team to play. And those who know Maritzburg City will tell you what kind of a team we had. And that for me was the best induction, because we played the best football from there. And from there on, in all the coaches that I've coached, I've always worked with more than one assistant coaches, because I know how important it is to have a little bit more brains around the team to make sure that you get what you want. But what is most important in that space is the leadership within that group. If in that group you entertain all sorts of petty issues and stupid fights, you don't see the light. But if you always try to inculcate a mentality that everybody is important and everybody's view must also be listened to without undermining anyone, you always stand a chance of achieving more. And there are many teams in the league that have got many coaches, more than one coach, but nobody talks about them when they don't succeed. The moment they start to succeed, maybe there will be something that will be said. But the truth of the matter is, it's a very healthy setup. In any big team in the world, I watched Brazil in the World Cup in 2014, I was there. The technical team had their own bus, you know. And that says something. That says other countries and other nations have realized how important it is to have a very big technical team with brains that are focusing towards one direction. I went to the Gothia Cup with Golden Arrows youth when I was still there. And the Georgian team had more than 16 people for the under 15 team. And that says something. In South Africa, no, one coach, guys, we cannot have two. No kid manager, the coach will be the kid manager. So it's very important to copy the right things. And I think I copied those things from my youthful coaching era. And that's why maybe it's benefiting us now. Thank you.
Coach, this is the last match of the season. Are you in a position to, and obviously after the match we're going to release the players. Are you in a position to tell us when are you coming back for pre-season? In the past, sometimes I've gone outside the country to prepare. Are you having something lined up, maybe to go away on the continent for preparation? And just a brief synopsis of your pre-season preparations.
Though I will not be very exact at this stage, but all I know is that we will give the team 4 weeks break and possibly come back for the next 4 weeks, because the season is going to be very long. I think we are one team that plays more matches than any other team in the league. And within that 4 weeks that we will have, obviously we'll have it structured to give us a chance to have our medics and train locally, maybe in the first mesocycle of the preseason, probably go to camp locally for the second mesocycle. And if COVID and all these other issues that are making life difficult subside, maybe we can consider that in the third mesocycle we should be away just for friendlies, maybe 1 week. Then we are back the last week to finish off our preparations.
This question, I know that it may be a bit far-fetched, but do you also have plans in place to deal with the World Cup break, since it's a weird one from middle of November to the start of January?
Our experience over the years has always given us maybe a chance to look at this thing slightly different based on our competition, but we always divide whatever break that is there into 2, give the players half and take the other half, because we always know it's going to be grueling. If we cut the break of the players and have a longer preparation phase, it has got a chance to create problems and maybe boredom even before the season starts. So it's very important for us to try and make the preparation phase as intense and interesting, so that when they start the season, you will say we don't start very well. We probably understand that part because it's not very important to us. As long as we can win in the process of maybe entering the first 5 matches of the season, knowing that after those 5 matches, our team is in good shape at that time. It's better than being in good shape before we even start, and suddenly when you start the season, you start to crumble because people are bored, they've been training hard, they are no longer interested. But it's something that we are looking at it like that because of the challenges that we have and the number of matches that we normally play. Normally, teams would predominantly go for a 6-week preparation phase and only give the players 2 weeks, and you cannot blame them. But it has happened. Many teams would not even want to break, and they would be number 1 in the league up until December. After December, everybody sebashayela ama-hazard. Mabehlangana la endleleni.